A week ago, on June 5th, 2025, a decision from Washington, D.C. sent a shockwave through Nepali communities across the United States. The news was sudden and, honestly, pretty severe. The US government announced the termination of Temporary Protected Status, or TPS, for citizens of Nepal. This protection, which really has been a lifeline for thousands, is now gone. The announcement came with a harsh deadline. Nearly 7,000 Nepalis, who have built their lives here for a decade, now have just 60 days to leave the country. This isn't just a policy change, it's a human drama unfolding in real time. For these individuals, America is home. They work here, pay taxes, and raise their families. Now they face an impossible choice. So, what exactly is Temporary Protected Status? TPS is a special humanitarian program. It allows people from certain countries to live and work in the United States if they cannot safely return home. This could be due to a natural disaster, an armed conflict, or other extraordinary conditions. For Nepal, that disaster was the devastating Gorkha earthquake in April 2015. The earthquake killed nearly 9,000 people and left entire villages in ruins. It flattened homes, schools, and ancient temples. The US government, recognizing the immense destruction and instability, granted TPS to Nepalis who were already in the country at the time. This gave them a chance to live without fear of deportation while their homeland recovered. The decision affects a vibrant and hardworking community. We're talking about approximately 7,000 people. These are not numbers on a spreadsheet. They are individuals with stories. They are nurses in our hospitals, chefs in our restaurants, and small business owners contributing to local economies. Many have US-born children who are American citizens. For 10 years, they have been an integral part of their neighborhoods. They followed the rules, renewed their status as required, and held on to the hope that their temporary stay might one day become permanent. This sudden termination pulls the rug out from under them, leaving their American dream in tatters. The US government's justification for this abrupt change is that conditions in Nepal have sufficiently improved. Officials state that the initial reasons for granting TPS, the aftermath of the 2015 earthquake, no longer apply. They argue that Nepal has made significant progress in rebuilding and that it is now safe for its citizens to return. However, this official assessment is not shared by everyone. Many advocates and community leaders strongly disagree. They point to ongoing economic instability, political challenges, and the fact that a full recovery from such a massive disaster takes more than a decade. The government's view seems to overlook the deep roots these individuals have grown in America. The journey of TPS for Nepalis has been a roller coaster of hope and fear. It all began in 2015 in the immediate aftermath of the catastrophic earthquake. The Obama administration granted the initial 18-month designation, offering a sanctuary for Nepalis stranded in the US. This was seen as a compassionate response to an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. It allowed people to work legally, support their families back home, and contribute to the rebuilding efforts from afar. During these early years, the community felt a sense of security. They believed the US understood their plight and would continue to protect them as long as the need existed. However, the political climate began to shift. Under the Trump administration, the future of TPS became much more uncertain. The administration adopted a stricter stance on immigration, and TPS was in its crosshairs. In 2018, the Department of Homeland Security announced its intention to terminate TPS for Nepal, along with several other countries. This decision sparked widespread panic and led to a series of legal challenges. Immigrant rights organizations filed lawsuits, arguing that the termination was unlawful and racially motivated. For years, these court battles kept the program alive, but it left thousands of families living in a constant state of limbo, unsure of what the next day would bring. When the Biden administration came into office, there was a renewed sense of optimism. President Biden had campaigned on a more humane approach to immigration. In 2021, his administration extended and redesignated TPS for Nepal, citing the lingering effects of the earthquake and other ongoing challenges. This was a moment of profound relief for the community. It seemed to signal a return to the original spirit of the program. Families could breathe again, plan for the future, and continue building their lives. They believed the worst was over and that the new administration understood the complexities of their situation. That hope was shattered last week. The sudden reversal has left everyone asking, what changed? The administration's reasoning that Nepal has recovered feels hollow to those who face the reality of uprooting their lives. Activists argue that the decision ignores the human element completely. It fails to consider the thousands of American children who could see their parents deported, It disregards the economic contributions these workers make. For the Nepali community, this isn't just a policy issue. It's a betrayal of the promise of safety and a profound disruption to the lives they have painstakingly built on American soil over the last 10 years. When you look beyond the headlines and policy memos, you find real people facing impossible choices. Take the story of a man like Prakash, a line cook in a Virginia restaurant. He came to the US on a student visa in 2014. After the earthquake destroyed his family's home, TPS became his only option. For 10 years he has worked diligently, sending money back to his parents and supporting his younger sister's education. He has a 4-year-old daughter, an American citizen, who has only ever known life here. Now, he is being told to leave. What does he do? Does he take his daughter to a country she has never seen, or does he leave her behind? This is the heartbreaking dilemma facing thousands. The economic impact of this decision will be felt not just by the families, but by their communities as well. These 7,000 individuals are part of the American workforce. They fill crucial jobs, often in the service industries and healthcare industries. Many have started their own businesses, creating jobs for others. Their deportation would mean lost tax revenue and labor shortages in certain sectors. For Nepal, the consequences are also dire. The money sent home by these workers, known as remittances, is a vital source of income for a country still struggling to get back on its feet. Cutting off this financial lifeline will only add to the hardship for families in Nepal. The social and emotional toll is immense. Imagine living with the constant fear of deportation for years, only to have that fear become a reality. The mental health impact on these families is severe. Parents are struggling to explain the situation to their children. Students are worried about their future. There is a palpable sense of anxiety and despair gripping the community. They feel as though they have done everything right. They have worked hard, paid taxes, and contributed to society. Yet they are being told they are no longer welcome. This sense of rejection is devastating, eroding the trust they had placed in the American system. Criticism of the decision has been swift and strong. Immigration advocates, human rights groups, and even some members of Congress have condemned the move. They argue that the administration's assessment of conditions in Nepal is flawed and fails to account for the deep ties these individuals have to the US. They point out the cruelty of deporting people who have become such an integral part of our society. Public campaigns have been launched, and legal teams are exploring every possible avenue to challenge the termination. The fight is far from over, as a whole community rallies to protect its members from being forced out of the only home they know. With the 60-day clock ticking, the Nepali community is scrambling to figure out what comes next. The most immediate path is through the courts. Immigration lawyers are preparing to file lawsuits to block the TPS termination. They will likely argue that the decision was arbitrary and capricious, meaning it was made without proper consideration of the facts on the ground. These legal battles can be long and complex, but they may offer the best chance of securing a temporary injunction, which would pause the deportations while the case is heard. This legal strategy has been successful in the past, and it provides a glimmer of hope in an otherwise dark situation. Alongside the legal fight, there is a powerful push for a political solution. Community leaders and advocates are lobbying Congress to pass legislation that would provide a pathway to permanent residency for TPS holders. Bills like the Dream and Promise Act have been proposed in the past, but they have struggled to gain bipartisan support. The current crisis might create a new sense of urgency. The hope is that lawmakers will see the human cost of inaction and come together to create a lasting solution. This would not only help the Nepali community, but also the hundreds of thousands of other TPS holders who live in similar uncertainty. For individual families, the options are limited and daunting. Some may be eligible for other forms of immigration relief, but these processes are often slow and difficult to navigate. Others may be forced to make the heartbreaking decision to leave the country. This could mean returning to Nepal or trying to find a new home in another country. For those with US citizen children, the choice is even more agonizing. The separation of families is a very real and tragic possibility that looms over these next few weeks. Ultimately, this crisis forces us to ask ourselves a fundamental question: what are our values as a nation? Do we turn our backs on people who have become our neighbors, colleagues, and friends? Or do we find a way to offer them the stability and security they have earned? The story of these 7,000 Nepalis is a test of our nation's compassion. As they face this uncertain future, their fate rests not just in the hands of judges and politicians, but in the court of public opinion. It is a moment to reflect on what it means to be a welcoming society and to consider the human lives at the heart of our immigration policies. What do you think should happen?